Have you ever watched a bright child suddenly melt down during learning? The harder you push, the worse it gets. Let me ask you something. Do you think the light behind me is actually white, or do you think it contains all the colors? Questions like this might seem simple, but curiosity questions like this can actually reset the brain. And for neurodivergent kids, that shift from reaction to thinking can completely change what happens during learning. This is part of the STEM Reset series, where we explore how curiosity helps neurodivergent kids return to learning when things start to fall apart. Years ago, my daughter had hiccups that wouldn't stop. We tried all the usual tricks: holding her breath, drinking water, head upside down between the knees, every trick people recommend. Nothing worked. So I tried something unusual. I started asking her math questions. 2 minutes later, the hiccups were gone. Not because math cures hiccups, but because curiosity resets the brain. When the brain gets stuck in a loop, whether it's hiccups, frustration, or a learning meltdown, pushing harder usually doesn't help. What helps is shifting the brain back into thinking mode. Curiosity does exactly that. Questions activate observation, pattern recognition, and problem solving. And when that happens, the brain moves from reacting to thinking. Years later, my daughter-in-law called me while I was standing in line at a drugstore. No greeting, just, "I've had hiccups for 25 minutes. So right there in line, I started asking math questions. The people around me were staring like I had completely lost my mind. But 2 minutes later, she said, "Okay, they're gone." Curiosity had reset the brain again. Once I noticed the pattern, I started seeing it everywhere, especially in learning. When kids become overwhelmed, frustrated, or stuck, the thinking part of the brain shuts down. And when that happens, pushing harder usually makes things worse. Change the method, not the child. Over time, I noticed something interesting. Learning often comes back in a simple order. First, the nervous system needs to calm. Then curiosity brings the brain back into thinking. From there, kids can build skills and confidence follows. I call this the STEM reset. The best part is, curiosity is everywhere. You don't need special materials or complicated lessons. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think curiosity shifts the brain like this? Look at that light behind me. It looks white, but do you actually think it's just white, or does it contain all the colors? And don't worry, if your child asks something you don't know, the best answer might simply be, "I'm not sure. Let's find out together." If moments like this happen in your house, I created a simple guide called the STEM Reset Starter Kit. It explains the curiosity reset idea and includes a few tools parents can use when learning gets stuck. Now, if you're thinking that might work for older kids, but I have a preschooler, let me introduce you to a game called Wiggle Fingers. Hold your two hands up like this with the back of your hand facing your child, so confusion between the extra fingers doesn't happen. Ask your child to count the fingers. When they get the number right, wiggle them. What you're going to hear is, "Let's do that again." And within moments, hiccups are gone because the brain has shifted to thinking mode. Neurodivergent kids don't need to be fixed. They need learning methods that match how their brains work. Sometimes the fastest way back to learning is simply a good question. Curiosity shifts the brain from reaction to reflection. If you're interested in how curiosity works with emotional regulation and executive function, that's exactly what we explore in the STEM Reset series. In our next video, we're going to explore something that many parents see but don't understand: why bright kids melt down during learning, and what actually helps. See you there.